A black man by the name of Keith Porter Jr. was shot and killed by an off-duty ICE agent on New Year's Eve. Now, many on the left are running with the narrative that this was an act of police brutality and that it's not being talked about because he's a black man. So I decided to look into the story, and what I found did not surprise me, so let's talk about it.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.
Guys, before we get into today's video, please like and subscribe, as today we're going to be talking about Keith Porter Jr. This may be a name that you're seeing on social media as it circulates and as his story gets told more and more in the wake of what happened to Renee Nicole Good. Now, I'll remind you, Renee Nicole Good was a woman who was shot and killed by an ICE agent after ramming her car into him. Now, many are bringing up the story of Keith Porter Jr. and saying this is a story of a similar nature, an act of police brutality or law enforcement brutality at the hands of ICE. Now, I saw this post on X. It says, Keith Porter Jr., 43, was killed by an off-duty ICE agent on New Year's Eve in Northridge. The agent's name remains hidden, no interview, no charges. Justice delayed is justice denied, with a photo of Keith Porter. Another person posts, Anaya Porter lost her father, Keith Porter Jr., on New Year's Eve, shot by an off-duty ICE agent. He left behind daughters ages 10 and 20. Their grandmother set up a GoFundMe. Justice is owed to this family. And at the time of this recording, I believe his GoFundMe has raised around $300,000, maybe above that. Now I'm going to show you a video from his daughter where she talks about what happened to her father and then says, ICE and Black Lives Matter.
My name is Anaya Porter. My father's name was Keith Porter Jr. My father's dead. He was killed by an off-duty ICE agent. It was unjust. And I've seen things I don't like, and I want to remind people that this is real life. This is my real life. This isn't news. This is an article I can just swipe away on. My dad's dead. Please respect him. Say his name. Fuck ICE and Black Lives Matter. Justice for Keith Porter Jr.
Now, it's pretty clear that this story is circulating because there's ICE involvement in it. Everybody's talking about ICE right now. There are raging protests and riots happening in Minneapolis and all over the country at this moment. So I'm thinking I need to look into this. A lot of people are alleging the reason this story is not being talked about in the same way that Renee Nicole Good is being talked about is because this man is a black man and because he was shot by an off-duty ICE agent. So I thought, okay, let's look into the story here and see exactly what's happened. Now, here's an ABC 7 News clip where they talk about what allegedly took place with Keith Porter Jr. and that off-duty ICE agent on New Year's Eve night. And listen up, folks, because I feel like we always get a narrative pushed towards us about racism, about police brutality, about these trigger-happy, power-hungry ICE agents and police officers, and then we hear what actually went down, and a completely different story is told.
Keith Porter's mother, overcome with grief at the candlelight vigil in Carson where she raised him. This is the second memorial in a week for the father of two shot and killed in Northridge by an off-duty ICE agent on New Year's Eve.
Took our loved one from us. You murdered our loved one, and it's not fair. It's not right.
According to the Department of Homeland Security, the off-duty ICE agent heard gunfire near his apartment and went to check it out. That's when DHS says the officer encountered Porter holding a long rifle. Advocates say Porter's gunfire that night was his way of observing the holiday.
Now, let's go ahead and pause there. I feel awful for anybody who's lost a family member in any way. When you lose somebody who you love, it's a horrific, difficult thing to go through. But when you find out that this story is being used to promote a particular narrative, is being paired with things like fuck ICE and Black Lives Matter, and then you see that the guy who got shot was actually using a rifle and shooting it in the air in a moment of celebration on New Year's Eve, it sort of paints a different picture. And I know this is something that is commonly done. People will go out on the 4th of July, on New Year's Eve night, and they will shoot guns into the air to celebrate these holidays. But just because something illegal is done often does not mean that it's okay. And the story progresses even further than that. We're actually going to hear from his family. We're going to hear from members of the community, people who are memorializing this man, on how they feel about his actions that night.
Yes, it was illegal, but at the end of the day, it's American tradition.
I'm 80 years old. It's happened as long as I can remember. That's one of the things that happens. People shoot guns as part of fireworks and celebration of the new year.
But
yes, it was illegal, but it's an American tradition. I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry, what? And then she goes, this has been happening for as long as I've been alive, and I'm 80 years old. Just because illegal actions have been taking place since the moment you were born does not mean they're not illegal actions. And we're gonna find out that the off-duty ICE agent responded to that gunfire and told him to put down the rifle. Now, what happens next? Let's hear it.
The agent allegedly ordered Porter to put down the weapon, and when he didn't comply, DHS says the off-duty officer fired his service gun. The agency claims Porter fired 3 rounds at the off-duty agent before he was killed.
Now, it's so interesting how the news and the media decides to word this. The off-duty ICE agent tells Keith Porter Jr. to stop, to lower his rifle. And when he did not comply, the off-duty agent shot him. Is that exactly what happened? He was not shot for not complying, for continuing to shoot the rifle into the air. The agent alleges that not only did he not comply, but that he shot 3 rounds at the agent himself. So there was an imminent threat to his life, and he responded to that threat by shooting Keith Porter Jr. At least that's what he alleges, and I'm sure there will be a pending investigation looking into his claims and looking into what he's alleged. But it's very interesting that the news media says that the officer shot him after he did not comply. It paints the picture that Keith Porter Jr. continued to shoot the rifle into the air in a moment of celebration rather than at the officer 3 times. Let's continue.
This is a human rights issue.
The 43-year-old's death touching complete strangers. Judy Vaughn from Mid-City drove 20 miles to Carson for his memorial instead of marching at an anti-ICE protest closer to home.
Now, this old woman was gonna go to an ICE protest closer to her house, right? Because this is just the narrative these days. It's ICE, let's go out into the streets, let's scream, let's yell about it, let's make a protest sign about it. But she heard about this man 20 miles away and decided, instead of going to my ICE protest, I'm gonna go to this other thing. I don't know what we're doing these days. I know that people are so ready to jump out into the street and to start protesting, and maybe we're full of anger and longing for community and all these different things, and that's why we're acting in the way that we're acting. But this is strange behavior. It's not normal.
We all need to recognize the shared humanity and come together. And I just wanted to be here to be a part of this group saying his life is valuable, his life matters, and we need to speak out in as many ways as possible.
While LA...
Life is valuable. Life does matter. And if what the off-duty officer alleges actually happened, okay, if this guy shot 3 rounds at him, does his life matter? Is his life valuable? Does it warrant the response of trying to protect yourself with self-defense? These are questions that we have to answer. But I think what happens is we get an immediate narrative that says ICE agent shot man or shot black man or shot American citizen, and we immediately jump to the conclusion that the ICE agent must have been in the wrong. But when you look into this story, I mean, the cards are stacked against Keith Porter Jr., not the off-duty ICE agent.
LAPD investigates what led up to Porter's final moments. People here want the off-duty ICE officer identified, arrested, and charged.
Hurt, lost. It was my brother. He was my life. He was my kid's life. He was the life of our family.
Organizers say on Tuesday that they will attend LAPD's police commission meeting to petition the chief to make Keith Porter's death investigation transparent. Organizers also acknowledge the shooting death of Renee Good, who was shot and killed by an ICE agent in Minnesota. In Carson, Tim Pulliam, ABC 7, Eyewitness News.
Okay, now it's interesting that they're comparing this incident to the incident involving Renee Nicole Good, a woman who was also doing something illegal, obstructing a roadway, intentionally actually, to fight ICE and to protest against ICE. And when she was confronted by an ICE agent, she drove her car into him. Now these stories are definitely similar, although one was not involving protest. If what the off-duty ICE agent alleges is true, this is another justified shooting done in self-defense. So it's so interesting that we can hear these 2 stories simultaneously as 2 different groups of people and come to dramatically different conclusions. And when I say dramatically different conclusions, I'm about to show you a video of a leftist woman talking about Keith Porter Jr. and likening it to Renee Nicole Good. And she goes as far as to say that the say her name tradition that happens when black people are killed, specifically at the hands of police officers, that the say her name tradition should not be extended to the likes of Renee Nicole Good because she is a white woman. We reserve say her name or say his name, this common phrase that BLM activists throw out when they protest, for just black people. That's how extreme the view is here. And many on the left are sharing this sentiment, that even though Renee Nicole Good was out there fighting for a leftist cause, fighting for marginalized individuals and illegal immigration, that she doesn't deserve the say her name chant because she is a white woman. Unbelievable. Let's watch the video.
Last week, a man named Keith Porter was killed by an off-duty ICE agent, but you probably haven't heard his name. And while part of that may be because of the ICE agent being off-duty rather than on-duty with a large crowd, we also know the biggest reason why this exists. Keith Porter is a black man, and black men, black women that get killed by agents, officers, don't get the same amount of national attention.
I'm gonna go out on a strong limb here and say the reason this story wasn't talked about in the same way that Renee Nicole Good's story was talked about is that when officers showed up probably to investigate the shooting of Keith Porter Jr., it was a pretty clear-cut case as to what took place. That's what I'm going to guess here. It also didn't happen in a protest that was getting nationwide attention at the time. Maybe that.
Many people online have been very angry at me and other black people for saying not to use the phrase say her name when it comes to Renee Good. And this is part of the reason. It has taken 7 days for the average person, and not even the average person, but for people online to find out about Keith Porter, while most people across the country know who Renee Good is within 24 hours. Within 24 hours, people have started marching for her.
So now the argument is about who gets attention faster, a black man or a white woman. Even though Renee Nicole Good was at a protest that was getting attention nationwide at the time, she was obstructing a federal law enforcement investigation rather than celebrating New Year's, and she was shot in front of a crowd of people filming everything at the time. Do we see the distinction between these two different cases? But Renee Nicole Good, who's a white woman fighting similar causes to every other leftist out there, does not deserve her name being said because she is a white woman. It really goes to show that your allyship as a white person is truly never going to be appreciated by this camp of people. All they care about is the oppressive nature in which white people move through the world, consistently oppressing marginalized folks, even when they are working in allyship with those marginalized people, like Renee Nicole Good claimed to be. This was a woman who was dedicating her time and her life to training on how to obstruct federal law enforcement investigations with ICE. Yet here she is being responded to in this way after her death, after dying for this cause, with people saying, don't say her name. And that's just an aside to this whole Keith Porter Jr. thing. I find it absolutely fascinating that the identity divide, the superficial identity divide that the left often engages in, goes all the way down to death and dying for your leftist activism.
They have been sharing the stories of her families. They have been talking about her, sharing posts of her, memorializing her, making sure that she is known. Meanwhile, Keith Porter's family, they've been struggling to get into the news cycle. They've been struggling to have any conversation. And the same defense that ICE agents are using to justify killing Good is the same defense that they're using for justifying killing Porter. They say that he had a weapon and that he pointed it at them first, despite the fact that nobody on the scene concurred that, aside from the officer who shot him. These are the conversations that we need to be having. It's not divisive to ask you to use language that matters. It's not offensive to ask you to consider how you're speaking about an issue, because part of the reason why fascism is happening now in the United States is because certain groups of people have never had to care this much. We've been under attack as Black folks for a very long time. Indigenous folks understand. Many Latinos understand. There are many groups that understand that we have been under attack for a long time, but there are many folks that have just woken up, even in the last week, that are screaming, saying that we're being divisive. But what's more divisive? Refusing to acknowledge the work of someone that came before you, of people that have been here, people that have consistently voted in favor of not having things like this happen, or people who just showed up to the fight.
Oh my gosh. How are you guys not exhausted? This is exhausting. I saw a woman the other day who showed up to a Renee Nicole Good, protest, vigil, something of that sort. And we actually have a video on this channel that you guys can check out. And she's there crying over Renee Nicole Good's death. And she says, I don't know if I should really be here. I don't know if white tears are necessary right now. They're not really needed. And Black people have been dealing with this for so long. And hearing the story of Keith Porter Jr., do you truly believe that this was an individual who was targeted and attacked by an off-duty ICE agent because of his skin color? Truly. Do you truly believe that? I don't. And that's really all I can say. All I can do is put the facts in front of you, put what was alleged, and then come to a conclusion based off of analysis of those things. And it doesn't seem like this off-duty ICE agent got up on New Year's Eve night and decided, I want to go out and kill a Black man while I'm off duty as an agent. And I don't think they want to do that when they're on duty. So it's just unbelievable to hear this narrative spun and flipped around for social media, where it's getting hundreds of thousands of likes, millions of views, money being sent in through GoFundMes. When you just flip the rock over and look at the actual story and what took place, it kind of makes sense what went down. And it's becoming more common than not that you get this narrative thrown in your face, you flip the rock, and you find out that it's not true. Or you at least start seeing it from a totally different perspective that makes the story make a lot more sense. And are we not tired of having to do this all the time? Are we not tired of being manipulated by these activists, by the media, by propaganda that we're getting online? I'm certainly getting tired of it. Having to go through this over and over, seeing a post memorializing an individual and claiming they were a totally innocent party in some sort of shooting or altercation or incident, and then you go and read about it or you watch the news and you find out they weren't so innocent after all. But hey, I guess that's just the way things go these days. I'll continue to look into these things and let you know what actually took place or what is alleged to have actually taken place. And if they find out that this officer lied, or they find evidence that suggests that Keith Porter Jr. did in fact not shoot 3 rounds at him before his death, then guess what? They'll go after that off-duty ICE agent and they will investigate further. And if charges need to be brought, I think charges will be brought against him, okay? Especially with all the attention that this story is getting and with all the money that's being thrown at Keith Porter Jr.'s family at this moment. So we'll keep you posted. If things flip and change, we find out this off-duty ICE agent was actually in the wrong, we'll be the first to let you know. But so far we don't have anything that points in that direction. So I guess stay along for the ride, guys. But give me your thoughts on this story. I've given you mine. If you disagree with anything I've said in this video, do get out, but do so respectfully in the comments down below. I encourage healthy debate on this channel. And if you like this video, like, subscribe, click the notification bell, be notified every single time I post a video for you guys, which is every day. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye, guys.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.